Oculus Link, for some people, has changed the way they look at the Quest and what it has to offer. The Oculus Quest has now gone from just a standalone headset to a hybrid headset of sorts, with the ability to play both standalone Quest titles as well as PC VR titles using the recently released Oculus Link. One of the most often asked questions about Oculus Link is what cable should I get? And up until just recently, there were a few great options like the Party Link cable or the Anchor cable, both of which I've used and had good success with. When the Link was announced, Oculus also announced a first-party Oculus Link cable designed specifically for the Quest and Oculus Link, so it seemed like a no-brainer to want to go with the official cable, right? So what's the problem? Well, the issue some people are running into is the fact that the cable is 3 to 4 times more expensive than any of the other cables being used for Oculus Link. I hope today to be able to show you the difference between the two so you can decide if the Link cable is worth the $80 price tag. Also, before we get started, I did spend my own cash on this cable, so I wanted to make sure that it was worth keeping and I was fully ready to get a refund if it didn't live up to my expectations. Spoiler alert, I didn't get a refund. Let's check out why. Let's start off by talking about build quality. First off, when you get this cable in the mail, you'll notice that the product packaging, when compared to other cables that come in a plastic bag, feels more luxury, like you're getting a new iPhone or something with a higher price tag. Inside the box, you'll find the cable, along with an instruction manual and warranty information. Before we get too much farther, I want to remind you that the cable only comes in a USB-C to USB-C configuration and does not come with a USB-A adapter. You can buy a separate adapter, which I've seen others say works, but I've not tested it personally, by Electop, which is currently $7.99 on Amazon. By the way, the links to both the Link cable and the adapter will be in the description. Before you do buy an adapter though, make sure to check your connections on your current PC. I didn't even realize I had a USB-C port on my motherboard, but I looked and there it was. Speaking of that, unlike some comments I've seen, the USB-C port does not have to be on your graphics card. The way that Oculus Link works allows you to use any USB 3 port on your PC, USB-C or otherwise, as long as you have an adapter, as I mentioned. Now to the cable itself. The first thing you'll notice when you handle the cable is that it feels high quality. I know that sounds stupid, but trust me, the material that Oculus is using for the jacket or the outside of the cable feels softer to the touch, more flexible, and more durable. The USB-C connectors on either end are considerably fatter, which makes you feel a lot better about the cable not breaking at the flex point by the connector or the connector breaking, which I've seen photos of. One end of the cable, as with the Party Link cable, has an angled connector to easily connect it to the headset. The Link cable is a little bit thicker than the other cables, and due to its length, it does weigh a little bit more. The Link cable also comes with an attachment that connects to the cable and then clips onto your Quest to allow the cable to run along the side of the headset, instead of dropping down over your shoulder, which I really appreciated. The inside of the cable is made differently than the other cables in that instead of standard cabling, it uses fiber optics, which allows for a higher data rate as well as charging ability for the Quest. To be totally candid though, the Anchor and Party Link cables in my testing will both also charge at the same time, so that may be a moot point. Another difference between the Link cable and the other third-party cables is currently the length. The Party Link cable and the Anchor cable I'm using both are 10 feet long. The Oculus Link cable comes in at 16 feet long, which if you don't feel like doing math is a whopping 6 feet longer. So that's enough about the cable itself. How does it function, and are there any differences in how well they work? It's no surprise that the Oculus Link cable worked perfectly the first time I plugged it in. I've been testing it with various games over the last week or so since I got the cable, and quality-wise, if I was to show you a side-by-side comparison, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Both the cheaper cables and the Link cable work great when it comes to graphical quality. In fact, when it first came out, I was talking with Wishful and he said he recorded footage from both cables and couldn't tell them apart, and that was the same with me. So you've got the same graphical quality. Why would you even look at the Link cable? Here's the thing, even though the graphical quality was the same, there are some what I would consider major pluses to the Link cable that at least somewhat justify the higher price. First of all, the comfort level of the cable is considerably better. It bends and flexes easier due to the premium quality materials used, as well as the fiber cable. The cable is still there to get in the way as always with a tethered experience, but the Link cable is less rigid and bulky feeling. I play in my basement where it can get cold during the winter. The cables don't like the cold normally, but the Oculus Link cable stays flexible while the other cables stand at attention. This isn't a deal breaker for the other cables by any means, as they function well from a technology standpoint. Secondly, and more importantly to me, is although the graphical quality is the same, I found the overall experience to be better with the Link cable. What I mean is that if you've used Oculus Link for any length of time, you've probably been booted back to the Oculus Quest menu and had to re-enable Oculus Link manually in the settings to jump back into the game. It doesn't happen all the time, but more often than I would like. I've not had that happen at all while using the Oculus Link cable. That may seem like a small thing, but it's a pain in the butt when you're in the middle of a scary section of a game or in the middle of a tense firefight, and all of a sudden it kicks you out and you have to re-enable it. That becomes especially annoying if you're trying to play online. Not everyone is going to care about that obviously, but I personally would rather not have to deal with it. So when it comes down to it, which cable should you buy? I'm not going to consider length because there are other longer cables out there, or you can use an extender, although it is still a big plus to me. I am personally of the point of view that you get what you pay for. But is that valid in this case? In some ways, I would say yes. The other cables out there work perfectly fine. Party Link, Anchor, whatever other cables there are that people are using. You can play PC VR games on the Quest just like you can with the Link cable, and some people will be totally happy with that. But what I believe sets the Link cable apart is the overall build quality. The cable itself is made from a more premium, high-quality material, which, as I mentioned, makes it more flexible and more durable. I also had a much more consistent experience using Oculus Link. As an example, I used the Anchor cable to play The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and in the time I played the game, I got booted to the Quest home menu and had to re-enable 3 times in about 2 hours, which is pretty typical for me. Sometimes I would even have to unplug the USB-C cable and flip it over for it to work. I could be way off, and you've never had that happen, but my suspicions are that you have. In comparison, I played quite a few different games, including The Walking Dead, to test the Link since I got it a week or 2 ago, and that hasn't happened at all yet. So, do I recommend the Link cable overall? It really comes down to what you want and what you're willing to spend to get it. Yes, the cable is expensive at $80, but you have to decide whether the trade-offs are worth the lower price or not. I personally like the Link cable, but I also recognize that the others work just fine as well. I do know that I've seen quite a few pictures of cables being broken or the USB-C connectors snapping on the cheaper cables. That is obviously perfectly possible with the Link cable, but I feel like it's much less likely with the build quality and flexibility. That may not be the yes or no answer you wanted, but I hope it helps you decide what will work best for you. Are you going to grab the official Link cable? Let me know in the comments, and if you do decide to grab it, you can find links in the description. If you want to get the most out of your Quest, then don't forget to hit that little red button that says subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thanks so much for watching, and happy questing.